DeRae, episode 6. You ready for this?
I am. Is this going to be like halfway mark to season 1?
No, it's like a fourth of the way through. But I don't know. We'll figure that out later. Go ahead and roll the intro. What's up, everyone? This is Austin Staton here with my co-host DeRae Crane, the legend, the man, the myth, future congressman, future contestant on The Bachelor, whatever you want to call it. Maybe. DeRae, episode 6. We are going to discuss mental health.
It is Mental Health Awareness Month.
I think it's really something important to touch on, especially after the last year that we've had, year and a half, really, 18 months with the COVID-19 pandemic. And a lot of people throughout the world have been, their lives have been uprooted because of the pandemic. Their day-to-day lives are not the same. Human interaction is completely different now than it was a year and a half ago. And, we're starting to see that change a little bit here in the United States. The vaccine rollout has come out. The CDC has said, all right, you can take your mask off if you're vaccinated. We're starting to see more groups gather. The positivity rate is a little bit lower, but the rest of the world's not necessarily as lucky as we are in this situation. So we did want to focus on mental health. But DeRae, before we do dive into things, website, social media, tell the people where they can find us.
CautiousCoffee.com.
There you go.
Social media, everything Cautious Coffee. What's that? Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook,
TikTok,
YouTube.
We did start a Twitter account, but Cautious Coffee was taken by somebody. I reported the account as like spam. But we are Coffee Cautious on Twitter.
Wow. Okay. That's news to me.
It's somebody that has never posted before.
Yeah, that's terrible. They need to get out of there. They're spam.
Yeah, exactly. So follow us there. But mental health. This is something that I think for me, I had never really considered.
Really?
Or thought of prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. I always thought that, it wasn't something that could impact me. Anxiety, depression, things like that. But I think COVID-19 changed things. I'm curious from your end, like what does mental health mean to you?
Wow. Okay. That's not something people spend time and ask themselves often. And I have a bit of a different take on it, simply from 20 years of boxing and having to systematically manage my emotions and really be in tune with how I'm feeling, because it's going to affect my performance. So mental health means to me doing the things that aren't going to, like, understanding what's going to stress you out, what's going to, even cause you to have a physical reaction, and either avoiding those things, if they're avoidable, or facing them, if you have to, and reconciling why it is that it's making you feel that way. Really asking yourself those questions. Back to the fear episode. Why am I scared? Why am I scared? Why am I feeling stressed? I think more importantly, we are going to feel those stressors. Like, there's no life without stress. Right? There's good stress. There's obviously bad stress.
Yeah.
But as we start out each day, we want to ensure that we're giving ourselves the best chance to take on that stress and face that stress. Are we staying hydrated?
We are. We had coffee when we were recording episode 5. Now we're drinking water for episode 6.
Are we eating nutritious food?
Yeah.
Are we sleeping? Sleep is so important.
Is it?
It really is. It really is. It has such a huge effect on everything that we do or don't do, for that matter, and how we feel. It can affect our mood, especially if we're not sleeping well.
Yeah. When I think of mental health, I don't know. I just think of this month. There have been a few people that I've known, at least met or second degree of separation, people that have decided to take the drastic step of suicide this month.
Wow.
And you just always kind of wonder, What are they going through to be able to take that drastic of a step? And I know so many people who have been open about their journey and having, those types of thoughts. It's tough. And I never understood like how you could get to that point. And I'm not saying I've ever been close to that point. I never have, but I've never understood, the anxiety, the depression. And I felt that during, COVID in 2020, that feeling of aloneness. And I think part of that for me was I'm such like an extroverted person. I thrive on community, traveling, being around people. And during the first month and a half of COVID, we thought it was just going to be 15 days to stop the spread, right? You can do anything for 2 weeks, not a big deal. But then when it became longer, when it became a month, 2 months, 3 months, that lockdown, that was tough. Not going to work, not seeing people. I mean, just being isolated almost. And, Katie had the opportunity to go up to Dallas to be with, her family. And so it was extremely challenging for me. And then then you add on like stress of work, layoffs, not being able to be around people, to socialize. It's incredibly tough. And I think being open about it, talking about it, has been really helpful, because there are other people that are on a similar journey as you, that have gone through some sort of similar experiences, right? They might not be able to understand exactly what you're going through, but they can at least empathize. I think sometimes that helps.
Maybe they can't.
Yeah.
Context matters. And, when it comes to suicide, I've been in the military almost 12 years. And I think in 2020, like one a day, one service member a day, I believe the statistic is, took their own life. And, even one is too many.
Yeah.
And the quarantine and being at home and you mentioned being, the aloneness that you felt and the anxiety, everyone was going through it. So we're all in very similar situations, albeit, first world problems for a lot of us, where we have our Netflix and television and
sometimes, as great as that sounds, you could just sit back, watch Netflix. That's not good enough sometimes. It's the human interaction.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, what helped get me through it is understanding that there were people who were already struggling. Yeah. And they were, they got laid off, right? Or they lost their jobs completely. And now they're, hand to mouth, trying to figure out where their next meal is coming from, or, how they're going to pay, certain bills. And that's the empathy for me, is I felt like so helpless almost in knowing that, like, there are already people struggling, and now, the quarantine comes along and really just washes everything away that anyone may have been working toward, up until that point.
It's interesting when we talk about the last year. So I think the numbers for mental health generally are, at least in the U.S. and the Western world, I think it's like 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 adults will go through some sort of mental health struggles, anxiety, depression within the average year.
Yeah.
So 1 in 5, 20%. Look at a Pulse survey that came out in December 2020. And it's the share of adults reporting symptoms of anxiety and or depressive disorder during the COVID-19 pandemic by age. Adults age 65 and up is 29.3%. So that's it's close to the national average on a yearly basis. It's a little bit high. We look at adults 50 to 64, 39.1%. We're starting to get a little bit of alarmed. Adults aged 25 to 49, that's our range. That's our age range. 48.9%, so 1 out of every 2.
Yeah.
Then we go to the age group where it's kids that are in college, just out of college, 18 to 24, 56.2%. More than half. Means at the University of Texas, 60,000 students there. More than 30,000 have had some sort of anxiety, depression, mental health issues in the past year as a result of COVID. That's alarming.
Well, that trend looks about right, because, young folks haven't developed those coping mechanisms where, our age range is a little bit lower than, the previous one. Right. And, we've had life experiences and things that have stressed us out over the years, and we've developed those coping mechanisms. And, so that's about on par, I would suppose. And hopefully, folks see it as an opportunity if they make it out on the other side, as and took the time to develop coping mechanisms to get through this. What were some of the things that you did, to kind of combat that anxiety and that depression?
Yeah,
and the feeling of alone.
So I think for me early on, I kind of maybe bottled it up inside a little bit, and that's never a good solution. To bottle up your emotions, feelings. But I feel like growing up, I don't know if it was just friend group or if it was what society told us we had to do, but I think specifically like guys never talked about emotions, feelings. And so maybe there's a sense of pride. You can't show weakness or perceived weakness, but I think you can.
Absolutely.
I think you have to be vulnerable and talk with people. And I think what actually helped me get through it is got a friend in Germany, Simon. We've traveled and both have a shared passion for that. I've known him since doing a baseball camp back in 2005. We would chat all the time, FaceTime, text, and then we would do Zoom parties back when they were cool. Zoom parties on Saturday nights. And that was a lot of fun. We called the group Isolated Travelers. And we had people from, Taiwan, Germany, California, San Antonio, all of that come on and join us for these calls. And it was just such a great time to get together. We would do it Saturday nights at like 9 p.m. on the Central Time Zone. So Simon's waking up at 2-3 o'clock in the morning over there. Drinking a beer with us when he wakes up, which is great, or coffee, depending on how he was feeling that day. But to me, it was like, I don't know, it was like a sense of normalcy and talking with this group that you really trusted. And it was something that you look forward to every Saturday night. And I don't know, I think that was really just very helpful for me, is talking through it and knowing that it's okay to open up and share the struggles that you're going through, because if you just bottle it up inside, it's not gonna help anybody.
Yeah, I mean, you did the right things. You found an outlet, you found a support system of like-minded individuals. I mean,
it was even tough, during COVID. When Katie's out here, I mean, there's only so much that you can do, like talk on the phone, FaceTime.
Yeah.
But like not having anyone there. And that was one of the cool things about the Zoom parties, is we would have anywhere from, sometimes we'd have 3 to 4 people on the call. Other times we'd have like 10 people on the call. And it just made it fun, even though we weren't together. It made us feel like we were together. We would do like theme nights.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just made it feel like there was some sense of normalcy going on in the world.
I can understand that. I happen to be a bit of I wouldn't say an introvert. I just enjoy being alone, because I enjoy being alone with my thoughts.
So I think oftentimes we say that there's extroverted people and introverted people. I think there's probably 4 types of people.
Okay.
Like you've got your extroverted, you have your extroverted introverts.
All right.
And then you have your introverted, and then your introverted extroverts.
All right.
I think you can fall somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes I'm an extroverted introvert. So I feed off of people.
Okay.
Right? I need that for energy, but I think sometimes you just want alone time.
Yeah.
Just to decompress, not have to worry about being always on.
Yeah. Yeah. Or engaged.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Or stimulated. And I think that's probably what caused a lot of the mental health issues, especially with younger people. because they're always engaged or being stimulated by their surroundings, and that's kind of become the norm. So when you take that away, of course they're gonna, feel depressed or anxiety from not having that, what was normal, that new normal for them. And a lot of young folks, if you've ever sat down or, folks have ADHD or they just can't seem to sit still because they don't, they just don't take that quiet time and spend that time with their own thoughts. Some people are scared, right? They'll put on music to kind of drown out their own thoughts. They just don't want to be left alone. That feeling of aloneness.
It's tough. I mean,
It can be maddening, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But sometimes being alone is good, and it's what you need. Sometimes it can be therapeutic, especially if you're, I don't know. It's like you got to find that balance, right?
Well, you add the COVID-19. I mean, that's kind of a scary thing, especially early on.
Yeah.
When like we don't know what this is. It was sensationalized, and there were scenes on television or on social media, and there still are. If you look, what's going on in India or what was going on in India, who knows anymore, right?
Right. And I think what made COVID-19 different is there are a lot of like world events that can happen, or life events that can happen that you can plan for.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you're going through a divorce, you probably know that the relationship's not working. You can probably see the writing on the wall. You might hesitate to get to that decision, but you probably know, all right, this is going to be the outcome. This is going to be the end result. Like you can at least prepare yourself for it, right? Like mentally, physically, you can prepare yourself. COVID-19, nobody had a clue.
Yeah.
Nobody had a clue that it was coming. Because, I mean, keep in mind, in early January 2020, the narrative was it couldn't be spread person to person.
Yeah.
And now The Economist, the week of May 15th, has reported the actual death numbers globally is probably closer to 10 million instead of the 6 million. And so the unknown, I think, is what kind of made this different.
Definitely driving a lot of the stressors. A lot of it was unknown. And then, not being able to see elderly parents or grandparents.
And I think one thing that I think is good is there are a lot of companies that are really making a focus on mental health.
Oh yeah. That's in the Western world, mental health is now just becoming a thing where they want you to take your vacation, take those days off, get away from work. I know I took off 5 days for finals, even though I wasn't on vacation necessarily. I just felt I just completely unplugged from work finally after just now. Well, we're into May. I'm just now taking vacation. I probably should have taken a couple of days in Q1, but I didn't get around to it.
I don't think I've taken any vacation days since COVID has started. Yeah, I don't think I've taken any vacation days.
Yeah, you might want to.
Well, I mean, for me, it was, where am I going to go?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to, at least if I'm working, I'm doing something. I couldn't travel, so I don't know, I think I was like maybe banking up my vacation days, thinking, all right, if the world reopens at the end of 2020.
All right, you're going to go all in.
We'll take the last month off, go all in. Didn't quite happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It was kind of like keeping busy. But I don't know. I think that's a good thing that companies, at least in the Western world, are starting to recognize, that mental health is something that does impact their employees.
Yeah, it's just as important as physical health, right? People hit the gym every day, but they don't, they're just kind of in there mindless. And it can be a stress relief, no doubt. But, to do those exercises, to have those conversations, whether you're in a relationship or not, or with close friends, and have that space to be vulnerable and say, I didn't have a good day today.
So why should you be vulnerable with somebody? Because I think that's sometimes difficult to be vulnerable with strangers. A lot of companies, they might have like a mental health hotline that you can call, or, there's mental health hotlines here in the United States that you can call. But I think being vulnerable with someone that doesn't know you is incredibly challenging. But also being vulnerable with someone that you do know, can be challenging, because you could be concerned, like, look, I've put up this facade that everything's okay.
Yeah.
In reality, it's not.
That's fake. All right. That's disingenuine. And, that goes against, for me, everything that I believe in. So it's just really about being genuine and authentic. And even though I project a certain image, I do my best to be that image.
Yeah.
Right. And I freely share with folks, back in 2008, getting ready for the Olympic team trials, that I went through a bout of depression because I had a terrible performance. And I had spent 2.5 years just focused on making the 2008 Olympic team. And I just knew that I was going to make it. I knew that I was making the right sacrifices, and hadn't seen my dad, my brother, any of my family in 2.5 years, literally 2.5 years. And the first time I saw my father he was in the hospital because he had a stroke. And it just broke me down. I just was bawling because I'd given so much and performed so miserably. Went into a depression for about 6 to 8 months, where I, put aluminum foil on my windows in my dorm room. And I did enough to get through class to finish. I graduated in 2008 and came out of that bout of depression that time. And actually, that's when I met my son's mother.
Really?
Was a fall class that I should have taken my freshman year, and my son's mother was there, just a ray of sunshine. And
so she helped you.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever told her that she helped me get over that bout of depression. Just pretty green eyes, beautiful woman, just like I said, ray of sunshine. And she helped me get through that. But then getting through that, made me stronger. And that's part of the reason why I run towards things that, make me feel a little bit of fear, or, I question why I feel a certain way. Why am I scared of this? Why am I uncertain about this? I'd rather face it, because I know that on the other side, I will be okay as long as I'm in one piece, and not everyone has that. So I, kind of have a bit of an advantage. And I think other folks that have been through that dark place and had to crawl out also, they tick a little different. They think about things a little different. What is it called? It's post-traumatic growth.
It's iron sharpens iron. It's, no pressure, no diamonds.
All that cliche stuff.
I mean, it's true. I mean, it's the scars, it builds character, it builds strength, right?
Well, that there are two different roads you can take, right? The stress road, post-traumatic stress, or the growth mode. And, I suppose it's a slippery slope either way, and it's not binary, right? There's you could feel one way one day and then another way another day. So I'm always looking for those growth opportunities. So that's kind of what drives me. If folks think I'm fearless, or, when the quarantine happened, I just started thinking about all the things that I know that I'm going to need to do to take care of my mental health.
Yeah.
Right. I don't have a gym. Okay. I need to build one in the garage because I know I have to work out. All right. I know I need to make my space ready to be like, what was that movie, Will Smith? I Am Legend.
Oh, man. All right. Great film.
All right. So I went into straight I Am Legend mode, just setting the conditions for me to have a successful quarantine. That way I can come out on the other side better.
Well, I think coming out on the other side better is something that I hope happens for a lot of people. I mean, the numbers were a little bit alarming early on, the statistics that we just ran through, but
Justin had a question.
Justin Cade, for those of you that don't know, we mentioned him in a few episodes. He actually texted us beforehand, and he said it was like getting a shout out from Joe Rogan. So we appreciate the high praise, Justin. We do hope that, we have a studio like Joe Rogan at one point, but what's the question?
So just for some context, and, in the previous episodes, I've, been about how we value our time and telling people no, that all plays into value yourself, which is number one. It's like, I value myself so much that I'm okay. And I respect that other person to be able to tell them, no, I don't want to go do something that's going to cause me anguish. Right. And Justin's question is, how much better off would we all be if we said yes and no more when we would typically say the other? And why don't we when it leads to such anguish?
That's a good question. It's kind of like what we discussed in episode 2 with time, right?
Well, and then valuing yourself. Like, that's kind of where that time comes from, and being like setting those boundaries. Like, I value myself. I'm aware of, this is going to put me in an odd space mentally, and it's going to have an effect on me that I don't necessarily care to have.
I think sometimes we're worried, like, I know sometimes, like, if I if I say no, I'm worried about the other person, right? Like, oh, are they going to get upset? Were they looking forward to it?
But what about you, Austin?
I know, but I think sometimes like I don't want to be seen as like a disappointment.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe that's...
Isn't that like a ball and chain? Don't you feel like a prisoner?
No. Maybe sometimes. I think that's part of it though, just not wanting to disappoint friends, family by saying no. I will say that.
But what about you? Did you disappoint yourself?
Sometimes when I say yes.
All right. And you wish you would have said no? Or sometimes you say no and you wish you would have said yes?
I mean, there are times that I say yes and I end up, and I thought I would say no and I end up enjoying something.
Yeah.
Right. And there are times in which you say yes and, you know, something ends up being a time sink, right? Like I don't know. Like I have this sometimes, you know, if it's like a work colleague, you know, calling or a friend calling, you know, you might be pretty busy.
Yeah. Yeah. I always ask, are you busy first?
Yeah.
If I call someone.
And then sometimes like I have some friends where it's like, you know, they'll text like, hey, you know, do you want to chat later? It's like, yeah, let's do it. Or no, I can't. You know, we're busy doing XYZ, and that's fine. Then I've got some friends who call and it's like, won't take but a second. And the next thing you know, it's like an hour and a half.
Yes.
And sometimes those conversations are great and I love them. But then other times you're kind of like, I gotta get back to work.
Yeah.
Like I can't balance both, or I need to eat, you know, something like that. And so, yeah, it's a balance. But I think, again, it comes back to what we've always said. You got to be selfish sometimes, because I think if you try to please people, that adds more stress. Yeah. That adds more anxiety. So I think sometimes you've got to focus on yourself and just know that it's okay to say no, and also know that it's okay to not be okay.
Yes, absolutely. And be mindful. So when you value yourself, you tend to value others just as well, right? So you call someone, and before you dive into the juicy gossip that you're about to discuss or whatever it may be, you could be draping someone with some drama because you had a hard day and you just need to talk. But, you know, give them the opportunity to opt out, right? Hey, are you busy? Or how are you feeling? Can I dump something on you, right? Because it's negative.
Man, if you've got to have the right person for that. And I think sometimes it's a great point. You've got to flag it to them.
Yeah.
You know, like, hey,
give them a heads up.
Heads up. Serious talk.
I'm coming in hot.
Need to ask you something. Is that okay? Because if you're not like prepared for something like that, and someone drops like a bombshell on you,
yeah, that's so disrespectful as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I mean, sometimes it puts you in a tough spot.
But
right?
that's what I'm
saying.
saying.
You don't know how to react.
Yeah.
You don't know if you need to be supportive, or it could be tough.
What if it just ruined your day and now you want to fight?
I've never been in that situation. Sounds like you're speking from personal experience.
I'm just saying, it's just the disrespect, all right? And that's kind of where it comes from.
Thou shalt not disrespect today.
Because, I mean, these hands, you can catch them.
Diamond hands.
I'm not above it. I'm not above it.
Speaking of getting help when you need it, just want to provide some phone numbers. SAMSHA National Helpline, 1-800-662-HELP. That's 1-800-662-4357. The National Suicide Prevention Crisis Lifeline, 1-800-273-8255. So if you are going through any mental health struggles, there's resources out there. Know that you're not alone, right? That you've got to, whether you want to believe it or not, there's people out there that care about you. I think that's the important thing to remember, and know that someone will listen. And I think that's just kind of, I don't know, the takeaway that I have is we can get through it. Things do get better. Things can get better. Sometimes it's hard to make that mindset shift.
I don't care how big, bad, and tough you are. You're going to feel down from time to time. And what my takeaway is, I want to let you know that that's okay. I want you to understand that on the other side of that, you will be better off. And the people closest to you, friends, family, significant other, you should have those conversations with them. You don't need to project this, this armor,
this facade
all the time. It's okay to sit it down and be vulnerable, especially, in the privacy of your own home, with people you love and care about. You know, the world's hard. I got it. And we're all, you know, going through this together.
If you need to let it out, let it out. Don't keep it inside. Don't keep it bottled up inside. Know that it's okay to be vulnerable. You know, it's not 1990 anymore. I think in 2021, that's sometimes the best is knowing that it's okay to talk about things that you're going through, your experiences. You know, whether it's a relationship that doesn't go well, whether it's being laid off from work, whether it's a societal issue that's impacting you. It's okay to talk about these things. And again, there are resources out there. We'll drop them in the show notes below. But DeRae, mental health. Good episode.
Vulnerability is not weakness.
Vulnerability is not weakness. We'll probably talk about vulnerability in an upcoming episode. But again, it's National Mental Health Awareness Month. And I do want to go to our Zoom line real quick and see if Simon's there. So Simon is a listener. I mentioned him a little bit earlier. He's actually joining us from Berlin, Germany. And Simon, I know that the last year has been filled with ups and downs for both myself, for you, and I'm curious your take. Like, how do you manage coping with stress, anxiety, depression? What is your take, and kind of what is the outlook in Germany when it comes to stress, anxiety? Because I know that some cultures are different than in America. Like, for example, in Japan, anxiety, depression, it's completely different. Like, they don't necessarily talk about it. They're not as open about it. So Simon, I'm curious from your take, how have you kind of managed and coped over the last year?
I think it's sort of similar in Germany as well. And people have been depressed more. I mean, I can speak for myself. I have. And it took a while to kick in. But then in order to try and get help or relief, I would just call up a friend. Maybe like sometimes I would call up you or some other people and just talk about like how it's going and what is happening.
Well, Simon, thanks for sharing. And I think that's great advice. Call friends. You've got a Rolodex in your phone. And again, it comes down to finding that trusted circle. But we're going to go ahead and give those mental health tip lines. SAMSHA National Hotline, 1-800-662-HELP, or 1-800-662-4357. National Suicide Prevention Crisis Lifeline, 1-800-273-8255. And of course, we'll drop those in the show notes as well. But DeRae, any parting words?
No, if you're going through some things, reach out.
Let us know. Yeah, reach out. This is it's a community. Cautious Coffee is a community. It's not the Austin DeRae show. If you need ways to get in touch with us, cautiousfcoffee.com, or just search Cautious Coffee on really all social media platforms. Either myself or DeRae will get back to you.
Yep, follow us, subscribe.
Yeah. Join Patreon, buy some merch.
Comment.
If you want.
Absolutely, if you want.
Yeah. But comment, let us know. Tell us what you like, what you don't like. Give us feedback. We have thick skin. So if there's something you don't like or something that you disagree with, let us know. Engage with us online. So, DeRae, that's episode 6.
Episode 6 in the bag.
Of Cautious Coffee. We thank everyone for listening and supporting us over the past several weeks. But on behalf of my co-host, DeRae Crane, I'm Austin Staton. See you next week.